If you find a bent tree in the forest, you may have just stumbled upon a centuries-old secret. Trees come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and colors, but one of their few unifying characteristics is that they stand tall, reaching up towards the sky. If you look for long enough, though, you'll eventually come across trees with crooked trunks and weird kinks. And if you find one of these, then you may have chanced upon a long-forgotten secret. Dennis Downs grew up close to Lake Michigan, on the border of Illinois and Wisconsin. With a growing love of nature, he spent his childhood playing in forests near his home. And here there were trees quite unlike any of the flora surrounding him. These trees were truly striking in their appearance. A few feet off the ground floor, they would each feature a kink in the trunk, a sharp right angle, so that the bole ran parallel with the ground beneath. There would then be another bend a few feet on, this time turning skywards once more. It was an odd sight indeed, and these trees stood out starkly from the others around them. Could it be possible that the trees were deformed by nature? Perhaps the elements have distorted the trees as saplings, contouring them into the shapes in which they remained for their entire lives. Most people have the same feeling, though. Such deformities simply can't be natural. Downs, for his part, was told something as a child that confirmed this notion that man had played a part in shaping the trees in this way. Specifically, it was said that Native Americans had created the trees thus to help navigate their way through the woods. And these stories stuck with Downs into his adult life. He wanted to know more. In his early 20s then, he started looking for evidence to back up the tales that he had heard while growing up. What's more, before long, he began to unveil evidence regarding what had really been going on. Crucially, Downs came across records made by geologist Raymond Jansen. Now a painter and sculptor, Downs himself spoke to Atlas Obscura in January 2016. He told the website, "I was determined to go everywhere he went, so it was that he followed in the footsteps of Jansen." Downs would actually follow Jansen's work for the next 4 decades. While working in the 1930s and 40s in Illinois, the geologist had also been intrigued by the strange trees. In fact, his fascination with them led him to study them across 13 states. Over the course of his research, he would, furthermore, set out guidelines on what exactly was unique about the curios. Jansen would in fact write 4 papers based on his research on the subject. In one, he stated, "The casual observer views them merely as deformed freaks, but careful observation and comparison of the nature of the deformities indicate that these trees did not acquire their strange shapes simply by accident." Using Jansen's work as a starting point, Downs would continue down many other avenues. Soon, moreover, he began finding information of his own. Indeed, he found evidence not only of more marker trees, but also of the locations where others had once been before being removed. What's more, at the root of it all, Downs had, as alluded to, been told that the trees had been deliberately shaped by Native Americans. These indigenous people would apparently use the trees as milestones on trails. In this manner, the marker would guide the people's way through forests and across rivers, or be used to mark points of interest such as freshwater springs. The trees were in fact a rudimentary navigation tool, long before the age of GPS. Downs also noted that the information provided by the trees may have been crucial for those navigating by them. He said, having the knowledge of all these trail trees could mean the difference between life and death, between eating and starving, between crossing the river correctly or incorrectly. For Downs to set man-made marker trees apart from those disfigured by the forces of nature, though, they would have to fit certain criteria. Tangible visual characteristics would provide an obvious start. In trail marker trees, the kinks are, for example, never too far from the forest floor. Why? For the simple reason that someone once manipulated the given tree into its shape. Then the age of the tree would need to be taken into account. It would need to be old enough to have been alive when Native American tribes were known to populate the area. The starkest evidence that Downs discovered, though, came from those who had personally seen the technique being practiced. Earl Achawanigan, a Smithsonian advisor and professor emeritus, had witnessed a trail marker being shaped in 1933 by a pair of then septuagenarian tribal elders. Moreover, he took Downs to the site. Once upon a time, these markers were far more common sight. Over the course of the 20th century, however, many forests across America and the markers they contained have been lost to make way for roads and highways. Furthermore, most marker trees are aged between 150 and 200 years old. This means they won't survive for much longer. And with no legal protection in place to preserve them, there's no unified strategy to save them from disease or from felling. They may also simply fall victim to storm weather. There are even those who don't believe in trail marker trees at all. Don Wells, president of the Mountain Stewards in Georgia, told Atlas Obscura, "There are still skeptics out there, mostly in the academic community, but I've talked to enough elders to convince me that I know what the truth is. I just ignore the skeptics." Meanwhile, the Trail Tree Project, run by the Mountain Stewards, is actually in the process of documenting the marker trees before they're lost forever. It's built a database of nearly 2,000 of them across America. The organization has also released a documentary and a book featuring interviews with Native Americans explaining how their ancestors used the trees for navigation. However, although groups like the Mountain Stewards are fighting to preserve the trees and their fascinating history, they won't be around forever. And yet, as Downs told Atlas Obscura, if there are only a few hundred of these unique living artifacts left, that's enough. Please share this video with your friends below.